Welcome back, Beaver Nation, to another edition of the Beaver Sports Show. Joining me once again is Alex Crawford, and I'm Boon Kruger. Well, we have a great show for you planned tonight, as we'll break down what the men's basketball team needs to do to get a sweep this weekend against the Washington Schools at Gill Coliseum.
The women's basketball team takes their 4-game winning streak on the road this weekend, and the gymnastics team looks to remain undefeated as they travel down south to UC Davis.
We will have this much and more coming up. You're watching the Beaver Sports Show on KBVR. Stay tuned.
From the KBVR TV studio on the campus of Oregon State University, this is the Beaver Sports Show.
After their huge Civil War win 2 weeks ago in Eugene, the men's basketball team traveled to Colorado and Utah this past weekend, looking to keep their momentum going. After a rough start on Thursday night in Boulder, Colorado against the Buffs, the Beavers picked up their first ever win in Salt Lake City, Utah against the Utah Utes. With more on this, here is Sports Show reporter Kazra Azizian.
The men's basketball team came into last weekend riding a 3-game winning streak, including their first road win in the Pac-12 over the Ducks. Jared Cunningham and friends were hoping to continue that streak when they visited the Colorado Buffaloes in Boulder on Thursday, a place where no other Pac-12 team has won this season. Instead, the Beavers were handed their worst loss of the season, falling to the red-hot Buffs 82-60. The Beavers had trouble getting back on defense, leading to easy transition buckets for Colorado. Jared and Devon Collier had 12 points each, and Eric Moreland had 9 points and 9 rebounds. Andre Robertson dominated for Colorado with his 14th double-double of the season, registering 16 points and 15 rebounds. The Beavers, looking to salvage the split, headed to Salt Lake City to take on the struggling Utah Utes on Saturday. The Beavers look like a completely different team, controlling the game from the tip-off. The defense forced the Utes into 22 turnovers and had 16 steals. Cunningham had 20 points, but the player of the game was Big Joe Burton. He had a fantasy-worthy stat line with 8 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, and a career-high 6 steals. Led by the quality play by Cunningham and Burton, Oregon State routed Utah 76-58. Beavers have now won 3 of the last 4 and moved to 15-8 and 5-6 in the Pac-12 play. The Washington Schools pay a visit to Corvallis this weekend, with Washington State on Thursday and Washington on Sunday. And who knows, in the mess of this conference year, a couple wins could take the Beavers right to the top of the pack. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Kazra. Well, it certainly is an open race in the Pac-12 this year, with Washington at the #1 spot right now at 9-2 overall. But this weekend, Washington State and the Huskies come to Gill Coliseum as the Beavers look to rebound from their 2 earlier losses to open the conference season. Alex, after this past weekend where the Beavers got the split against Colorado and Utah, what do you look for this coming weekend against Washington State and University of Washington?
Well, ideally, I look for 2 home wins. We're 10-2 at home this season, so that's ideally what I look for. That's not going to be easy to come by, considering that we lost to both those schools earlier this season. Wazoo, I think we definitely have a good shot at beating them. They're without Faisal Aiden. Is that how you say his name? He was their second leading scorer. They lost him about 2 weeks ago when they played U of A, tore his ACL out for the season. So I think they're very beatable. But against Washington, we're going to have our hands full. They bang it inside. It's going to be a tough game regardless. So I think we can get the split for sure. But ideally, we want to come out of this with 2 wins because, we're closing up 7 games left in the season. We want to make a big-name tournament, whether it be the NIT or the NCAA tourney. So I think we got to get the sweep at home.
Yeah, the Beavers enter this weekend at 15-8 overall and 5-6 in conference play. Let's talk about Washington State first. The Beavers suffered a tough loss in Spokane earlier this season over winter break. What do the Beavers need to do? Brock Modum had a huge game for Washington State. Is it the key going to be stopping him?
Yeah, a little bit the key's going to be stopping him because he's a big man who can either drive to the hoop or he can take that jump shot. So he's going to, he's really going to challenge our defenders. Lately, our shooters have been struggling outside. Roberto Nelson and Ahmad Starks are in a bit of a slump, so I think we got to bang it inside. We have the 1st and the 5th in the Pac-12 in field goal percentage with 2 of our big men, Devon Collier's first, Joe Burton is 5th, so we got to get them the rock down low in the post and work the game from the inside out. Eventually, I think, shooters, they get in slumps, but then they also come out of slumps and they get on hot streaks. What an ideal time for Roberto and Ahmad to come out and get on a hot streak. So I think we got to work it from the inside out. Who's your key player against Wazoo for the Beavers?
I think once again it's going to be Jared Cunningham. The Beavers really seem to do a great job as a team when Cunningham has a big game. The last time the Beavers played the Cougars, he had 21 points with 4 steals and 4 assists. So I'd look for him to have another big game. He really seems to be taking over as the team leader. He had a huge weekend this past weekend, so I think he's the #1 guy, but I'd also look for a guy like Ahmad Starks to have a break out of his slump. Looking at UW, though, this is really the big game on Sunday afternoon at 2:30 at Gill Coliseum. The Beavers kind of got beat pretty bad in Seattle. They had cut the game really close towards the end, and then the Huskies were able to make it a 15-point win. You said this is probably going to be the tougher of the two to get that victory, but what do the Beavers need to do to get that win on Sunday?
Well, the Beavers on paper, they look like the better team, 5th in the nation in scoring, 2nd in steals. The Huskies, they're only 34th in the nation in scoring. They're 7th in rebounds. They won 5 games in a row. They're leading the conference. So, yeah, we're going to have our work really cut out for us. What do we need to do to win? We need to, first of all, shut down Terrence Ross. And we need to shut down their freshman big man, Tony Roten. Is that how you say his last name?
Yep.
Yeah, he's a beast down there, and he's only a freshman.
He had 26 points in the last matchup against the Beavers down in Seattle. So I agree with you. Shutting those 2 guys down is going to be huge. I think another big key for Oregon State is going to be make their free throws. If you look at the last time they played, really all their stats were pretty evenly matched, but the free throws were the biggest difference. Oregon State was 9 for 17 from the free throw line, and UW was 17 for 20. Obviously, that's not as big of a difference as the 15-point margin, but if you cut it down and you shoot even on the free throws in a close game towards the end, it really can help you out along the run.
Well, like you said, against Wazoo, Jared Cunningham's going to need to step it up. I think even more so against UW. I think for Wazoo, in the Wazoo game, we're going to need our big men to step up more and just pound the ball inside, shut down Brock Modem, and then, like I said, work it from the inside out. But as we've seen in our tougher games this season, like against University of Texas, like against University of Oregon, when we bounced back, came back in the 4th quarter, that was huge. We see Jared Cunningham step up and take over those games and show why he is a Player of the Year candidate in this conference. So I think against UW, we really need him to step up, get to the hole, and get to the free throw line. Like you see the Los Angeles Lakers when they're playing a tough opponent, when they're down, what does Kobe Bryant do? He gets to the free throw line in the 4th quarter and brings the Lakers back via free throws. So if that happens against UW, we definitely have a chance to win. I'm looking forward to the game. I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be a different game than it was the first time, but no doubt going to be a struggle, a tough matchup.
What is your hunch? Do you think the Beavers can get that sweep?
I think they can, but
Do you think they will then?
No, I think they're going to go 1-1. I think they're going to beat Wazoo and lose to UW, but no doubt I'm going to be rooting for them to beat UW. I just think I cannot predict that win right now. UW is 9-2 in conference. They're on a super hot streak, and they're a very good team. So I can't predict that win. I think they go 1-1 on the weekend, but I want them to go 2-0, obviously. But I got to take off the orange and black glasses. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm going to call the sweep. I think the Beavers, they're 10-2 at home this season at Gill Coliseum. Friendly confines. I think it's going to be 2 huge crowds for both games. And I think playing in front of 8,000 plus at Gill really gets the players juice. So
huge weekend.
I think it's going to be a sweep for the Beavers, and I think that's going to carry to great momentum in the second half, and they're going to finish out the season really strong. Well, we'll have more of the Beaver Sports Show coming up. Look forward to women's basketball highlights.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Oregon State Beaver.
The women's basketball team has made huge strides these last 2 seasons with young head coach Scott Ruick on the bench. That was evident this past weekend as the Lady Beavs swept Colorado and Utah at Gill Coliseum. On Thursday night, the Beavers took on the Buffs from Colorado in front of more than 1,000 fans. Led by standout Erlicia Marchbanks and a suffocating defense, the Beavers dominated Colorado all night long. Entering Thursday's inaugural Pac-12 matchup against the Colorado Buffaloes, the Lady Beavs were on a 2-game winning streak. Looking to keep the momentum going against the Buffs, the women ballers did just that. In what could be seen as their most impressive performance to date, the Beavers dominated Colorado the entire night, winning 65-45. Senior guard Erlicia Marchbanks was once again OSU's go-to player as she led the Beavers with 13 points and 3 steals. Though what was most impressive about the Beavers' win was their suffocating defense. All night long, OSU pressured the outskilled Colorado Buffaloes. In the first half alone, Colorado shot 16.7% from the field, making only a meager 4 shots. The Beavers, on the other hand, were able to make 42.3% of their shots on 11 made baskets, including shooting 9 for 11 from the charity stripe. After taking a 16-point lead into halftime, the Beavers did not let off the gas as they finished the game strong, outscoring the Buffaloes 32-28 in the second half. On the game, the Beavers dominated points in the paint and points off turnovers, outscoring Colorado 34-12 and 22-9. The Beavers also had a strong performance from freshman Allie Gibson. The Woodbridge, California native scored 12 points, shooting 3 for 4 from the field and a perfect 6 for 6 from the free throw line. Another bright star for Oregon State was the play of junior guard Sage Ndendi. It was a special night for her as she moved into 4th place all-time for made three-pointers at OSU. She made 2 on the night, which now gives her 106 made three-pointers for her career.
I thought offensively it was ugly at times for us. I thought Colorado did a great job helping, keeping us from the basket. They didn't allow us to have many easy things. They were giving a couple people the three-point shot in this game, which was their game plan, and it was effective early anyway. And I thought that messed with us a little bit. So I thought it took a while offensively to get comfortable in this game. Defensively, though, yes, I thought this was a 40-minute game that we played. We made very few errors, obviously, because of the percentage they shot for the game, and especially first half. We held them under 50, and so this was a great performance for our team and a good win.
I think that we kind of got into a rhythm finally. We were kind of playing to how they were trying to dictate us in defense. And once we started getting some stops and getting some tips on the ball, we started getting some momentum and got a little bounce on our step. And then offense started to become easier. And we really had to feel out the game as far as the way that they were roughing it. They were calling a lot of touchy stuff. And so how do you use that to your advantage? And so we started getting to the line and knocking down free throws, and things started opening up. I think that defense has really become our identity. We love playing it, we work on it all the time, and that's what kind of gives us our spark. And when people are getting stops, getting tips, it gives us an extra bounce, like I said earlier.
At home on Saturday, the women ballers, led once again by senior Erlicia Marchbanks, who had 22 points, demolished the Utah Utes in Gill Coliseum for their 4th win in a row. With more on the women's basketball team, here's Sports Show reporter Kylie Martin.
This past weekend, the Oregon State women's basketball team was able to get their 4th straight conference game win against the Utah Utes, which is something that has not been done since the 2000-2001 season for the Beavers. Senior Erlicia Marchbanks also had a record-breaking night with a career high of 22 points in a game high of 10 points. She scored 16 of her points in just the first half with a shooting percentage of 64.3 from the field overall. Junior Sage Ndendi was the only other Beaver to join Marchbanks in the double digits with 13 points. While the Beavs lost the opening tip, they were able to have a quick lead of 8-0 and led by as many as 15 in the first half. Utah was able to sneak up and get within 4 to make the score 26-22 heading into the locker rooms. Coming back for the second half, the Beavers once again started strong with a 15-3 run that hit a wall which led both teams to trade buckets for a few minutes and allowed Utah to get within 5 before Sage and Dundee hit a quick jumper to jolt OSU back in the game to continue on and take the win with a final score of 62-49. Head coach Scott Ruick had only praise for the efforts the Beavers displayed during the game to get the win.
Wins in a row in conference is it is what it is. It's a great thing. It's so nice to have all our efforts rewarded on the scoreboard, which sometimes in the past so far hasn't happened that way in Pac-12 play anyway, but I think it just demonstrates the growth of our program, the growth of our team. It demonstrates the leadership this one right here, and the way everybody's understanding their roles and starting to believe what we're capable of.
The Beavers will head north to take on the Washington teams this weekend in hopes of continuing their winning streak.
Thanks, Kylie. When we come back, we'll take a look at gymnastics and a look around the whole Pac-12.
Well, the wrestling team got back to their winning way.
So what's next for Calvin Haynes?
Where we show the world watching the Beaver Sports Show on KBVR.
It was a big week in Walnut Creek, California, headquarters of the Pac-12 Conference, as the conference's 2012 Men's Basketball Hall of Fame inductees were announced. Sports Show reporter Jenna Lade has more, as well as a breakdown of what else is going on around the league.
This week, the Pac-12 has announced they will be honoring 11 former student athletes with their induction into the Pac-12 Men's Basketball Hall of Honor during the 2012 Pacific Life Pac-12 Men's Basketball Tournament, one of them being A.C. Green, an Oregon State alumni. The former OSU great was a 4-year letterman during some of Oregon State's best teams when he played for the Beavers from 1982 to 85. As a freshman, he averaged 8.6 points and helped lead Oregon State to the 1982 West Regional Championship game. In 1984, he was named the Pac-10 Player of the Year, and in his career, he was selected as first-team All-Conference 3 times. Green was inducted into the Oregon State Athletic Hall of Fame in 1996 and the State of Oregon Hall of Fame in 2003. In 1985, Green was drafted by the LA Lakers and won 3 NBA championships playing for them. When it comes to Pac-12 standings, Washington, California, and Colorado remain as the top 3 teams, with Washington at the #1 spot with a 92 conference record, and California and Colorado at 8-3 apiece. Arizona's Kyle Fogg was named Pac-12 Player of the Week as he led the Wildcats to their first road sweep of the season as they swept the Bay Area schools. This is Fogg's very first Pac-12 Player of the Week honor as he averaged 18.5 points in the 2 games. The Beavers have 2 important home games coming up, one being tonight against Washington State, who is 1 game behind Oregon State. You can catch the other game on Sunday, the 12th, in Gill Coliseum against Washington at 2:30 p.m. If you can't make it to the game, be sure to watch it live on FSN.
Thanks, Jenna. The gymnastics team was back in action last weekend against Washington as all 4 of the Beavers lineups rank among the top in the nation, and the Beavers have yet to lose a meet this season. With more on gymnastics, here's Sports Show reporter Ashley Bett-Malik.
The 8th-ranked Oregon State gymnastics team took on the 21st-ranked Washington Huskies in Seattle last Friday night. Ranked number 3 in the nation on the uneven bars, Oregon State took on the event first. Michaela Stambaugh scored a 9.85, Leslie Mack scored a 9.9, Olivia Vivian had a score of 9.85, Brittany Harris with a 9.775, and Hannah Casey with a 9.725. This was the 4th time in the past 4 meets where Oregon State passed the 49th point mark, leading the Huskies 49.100 to 48.850. Next, the OSU gymnasts went to the vault, hitting all their routines. Led by Stambaugh, who won the event with a score of 9.85, Blaylock with a 9.825, Harrison Mack with a 9.775, and Melanie Jones with a season high of 9.70. Oregon State increased their lead to a 98.025 to 97.525. The ladies headed to the floor in the third rotation, with Stambaugh leading the lineup with a score of 9.85. Leslie Mack scored 9.825. Blaylock, Jones, and Vivian each earned a 9.775, earning an overall team score of 49.0. In their final rotation on the balance beam, Blaylock won the event with a score of 9.85. Mack scored a 9.80, leaving Stambaugh, Jones, and Vivian for a six-way tie for third with a score of 9.775. Oregon State beat Washington with the final score being 195.975 to 194.675. Stambaugh scored a 39.350, winning the all-around for the second straight week. Leslie Mack and Brittany Harris finished second and third. The Beavers will travel this Friday to Davis, California as the 9th-ranked team in the country. They will be taking on UC Davis and Sacramento State at 7 p.m. at the Pavilion. Fans can follow the live action on the Oregon State Gymnastics Twitter feed at Oregon State Gym.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, that's all the time we have for you tonight.
And be sure to tune in to 88.7 KBVR this Friday to listen to Boon and I and the rest of the gang talk sports on Against the Spread Sports Talk Radio from 2 to 4 p.m.
And on behalf of Alex Crawford and everyone here at the Beaver Sports Show, I'm Boon Kruger. Hope you have a great night, and we'll see you back here next week.